And welcome to today. It is Tuesday, the 18th, and I hope everybody is doing okay after their drinking binge. I saw a meme go out yesterday. It said something to the effect of, with St. Patrick's Day, everyone's drinking, but it's not like Cinco de Mayo where no one's dressing up like Mexican people.
You know, we
like
just
they
said
do.
that in the beginning. It sounded like you came in here lit.
Me?
Yeah, he's drinking
I
last
didn't
night.
know.
Sound like you had too
Whoa.
much yesterday yourself.
I was just rushing around. It's crazy people on the roads.
It's like the two people in town that don't drink are talking
That,
about that.
that would be me. That would be me and Aaron. So Aaron Righellis is on my show today. He is of Up All Day Creative Solutions. I've known Aaron for a long time, and first and foremost, I want to point out the fact that Aaron's a real stand-up guy. To take you, yeah. I mean, I'm not just like blowing smoke. I came to him with an idea back in the day, and if anyone knows kind of how like Vegas works, or I guess any city for that matter, could work. It's like, oh, this is a fantastic idea. We're gonna do it and cut you out of it. But basically, the whole entire idea has been spelled out, and it's been out there for a good 5 years.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
and I haven't been able to do anything with it yet, but he hasn't done anything with it yet either. So that's when I think of like how people are and what kind of relationship that you have with them and stand up people, that would be it. That's
Thank you.
and it's not to say that you go, well, it was a crap idea, or I think you're an honorable person that just says, you know what, it's Jeremy's thing, or it was going to be our thing together. We couldn't do it for him, so if he gets it done, great. If not, then no harm, no foul, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There are people in town that often take ideas
They're
and
like, that's great, thank you.
put their own spin on it.
Sure.
And you see it a little bit later.
Change it a little bit.
And they say imitation is the best form of flattery, but
Right.
I just don't operate like that. Nor could I look at myself in the mirror if I were to do something like that.
Well, too, unless they're taking your cash from you from your idea, then it's not so much flattering any longer.
No, not at all.
This is true.
And the funny thing is, I sent George a message last night. I don't know if he got it yet, but there's competing people in town that do this similar concept of all talk, and their whole website's revamped now. I think they got tired of us ribbing them about having dancing bananas on their site and it looking old school. So, anyway, speaking of creativeness and all that, even with that idea, I came to Aaron and said, "Hey, this is something I want to do," and it kind of evolved into something else, and that's really a testament to what Up All Day can do. They with their clients, they will bring you in and it's more of a collaborative effort to make sure that they're getting your point across, your brand across, and all that, rather than we are the experts, we know what we're doing, and you just sit back and we're going to control it all for you.
Yeah, that's really true. There's a lot of different mindsets when it comes to agencies and all of that. And really our mindset is that creative is a collaborative effort. If it wasn't for the client, then we wouldn't be there either.
Sure.
And we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our clients. And there's no such thing as a bad idea. Some ideas are better than others.
Sure.
But, it's a matter of during the creative process, crowdsourcing all of those ideas and coming up with the best solution.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of agencies out there that are like, okay, this is the way the logo should look. This is why it should look and all of that. But if the client's not in agreement, they're not comfortable with it, are they going to be happy? Is that really a good relationship?
Right.
So we like to look at it more as an extension. We're more of an extension of our client's team, not just a team for hire, essentially.
And you will break it down, and I remember the process that we went through. We're like, okay, here's the beginning idea, and then it just morphed into something else, but which was even better. But both people agreed on what that was going to end up being. And in fact, if you ever want to go down that road again, I have even more ideas to add to that. So I think it would.
Yeah, we'll have to talk.
I think it would do quite well. I think that's very important. Where obviously the company, if they have the wherewithal and the funds to be able to hire somebody like your team. They had to have gotten there somehow. So their own creativeness got them there. So to say, oh well, no, whatever you were doing before, stop. let's go down this path. It's something I've even on my level have talked with George about. It's like, okay, this has worked for a long time, maybe for all talk, but here's how we can go in a different direction and why it would be helpful to go that way.
Right.
So I think,
and you have it right there, always presenting it as, or we can do it this way as well. We could do it that way, or we can do it this way is always a good way to lead someone into maybe thinking more along the terms of what you're thinking as well.
you mean you have more ideas than just one?
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's so unheard of.
I know.
Strange. It's very
It's
strange.
amazing.
Now, here's something else that George might like, because he's a fan of sunglasses. Obviously, you can tell.
Yeah, I can't find the right ones, but
But I had Aaron on my show. What, 4
4
4
or 5
years
years ago.
He brought in a rapper. I forget who that was.
That was Silk Ski.
Silk Ski. That was a fun show. That was a fun show. But he also brought in. He worked with the company, the Blue Blocker company, to bring back those white blue blocker sunglasses that you saw in the Hangover movie.
right.
So when the Hangover came out, he got that license to. What?
Yeah, that was really interesting. We went to Blue Blocker to the headquarters and actually met with Joe Sugarman, and I met with him not knowing he was the owner and the creator of Blue Blockers at
Right.
the time. And me kind of newly starting my own company, I'm like, hey, we could help you out with the website and da da da. And he didn't really have a lot of interest in doing that to his website, but he gave us the license to go ahead and become a retailer and a wholesaler of the sunglasses.
Totally cool.
So we opened up a kiosk in Town Square, did that for a while, and actually the timing worked out well because, like Jeremy said, The Hangover came out and Zach Galifianakis was wearing the aviator-style glasses, and at the time, Blue Blocker themselves couldn't keep up with the orders that were being placed through them, so we were starting to get the overflow of that. So it was kind of neat timing and all
Yeah.
of that. Since then, we're not in the sunglasses business anymore, but we still love Blue Blocker
Yeah.
and all that. I do wear them every day.
But it was
tons
cool.
and tons of pairs, so it's awesome. So,
George, I think would want one. But for
I'm sure I have an extra pair.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's-
I love them.
hanging around. But they're these white, cool glasses, and I remember I've worn them either just out and about or even added them to like Halloween costumes
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
something.
And honestly, it's right before we decided not to move forward with selling them and all that, we actually distributed a lot of pairs to the different nightlife groups out here in the pool scenes, and you'll see a lot of the people that are kind of the leaders in nightlife or the influencers within nightlife are wearing them. When we like to think that some of the popularity came from our efforts through the social
think
media
so.
and all that, I do too.
I think so.
But then they also did go on Groupon and sell 300,000 pairs when they decided to discount them 50%.
Wow.
So, yeah, isn't it crazy? 300,000 pairs.
Wow, that is crazy. And is that what kind of took you out of that market, or?
Yeah, I think they, at the time when we were doing it, I feel like maybe they weren't paying attention to the company as much. Then
Right.
I think once they noticed that there was more of a market, they decided maybe they should put a little more effort into
Yeah,
it.
because they were. I mean, if anyone back in the day knew, they were huge. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing a Blue Blocker commercial, and,
Right.
and then they kind of went away and then came back. So then they're like, oh, I guess we have something here. I guess Aaron's push helped us out a bit. Because
What can you
Hair
say,
flip
right?
emoji.
There you go. That's funny. I know somebody that does that. But being able to that's I would always talk to people about why Vegas was a good place to launch things is because 40 million visitors come here. So why wouldn't you want to have a kiosk at Town Square, have people come by, they get it, and they tell everybody back home
Right.
about it. You have an international advertising group of people in your backyard.
And I've always thought that about the music industry too, why there isn't a stronger music industry presence here as well. I
You
just
know
feel
that
it's the
though,
same-
right?
What's that?
You know why though, right?
I would think that it's probably just influences outside of Las Vegas.
That I think, but my other take on it is the fact that if you want to play anywhere in this town, let's say a bar or something, the band is a direct competitor for the video poker machine. And I've heard that before when I would go out and shoot different bands and stuff. They would say, basically the owner said, "Hey, you're distracting people from playing on my video poker machines,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's my cash cow."
I've just always thought, a place where people, come to Vegas and they go away with whatever
Sure.
they, listen to, buy, whatever. I think that would be a good thing for any product.
I agree, but are you going to delve into anything like that in the future? Anything that you want to
No,
share
just
with us?
no, it's just kind of a thought.
Okay.
Just random.
Well, is that why you dealt with Silksky?
That I actually just ended up meeting him during a night out,
Okay.
and we were looking for people to perform our grand opening event, and we thought that he would be a draw along with some other great local artists that came out. Love It or Leave It, Yultron, actually from LA, came out and performed. It was a pretty neat thing. It was just a kiosk in Town Square, and we ended up putting on a skate competition.
Wow.
And a whole, concert, break dancers, and all of that. So for about 70 square feet of retail space, we
You had a lot
kind
going
of went
on.
over the top.
For those that don't know, I think if I remember correctly, he is Old Dirty Bastard's brother.
Correct.
Okay. Is he still around doing stuff, rapping?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
hear from him occasionally. So yeah.
Dude, cool.
Yeah.
So, what is it? Okay, so take us back to when this started. I know that using a lot of the knowledge that you gained over time, you and your partners got together and say, "Hey, I'm good at all these things. I know these things. Let's get together and form a company." Is that basically how it went down?
Well, recently we celebrated our seven years as
Wow.
a company. So that was in February.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the story goes basically, Gabriel Trujillo and we both worked at the Venetian in the advertising and marketing departments, and we ended up leaving the Venetian at separate times. And after a while there, I just have always had the entrepreneurial spirit. My dad's, always had his own company as long as I could remember and all of that. So I always know that I wanted to do something.
Sure.
So, we were talking amongst friends. We're like, what can we do? We were thinking of private labeling coffee because, being from the Northwest, I knew the coffee scene was huge and it hadn't hit Vegas yet.
Right.
So
It's true.
we were starting to brainstorm names, and we were thinking about up all day coffee.
No,
We thought that would
that
be
is
a
cool.
clever name. Then we thought, well, maybe we'll do cafes in the base of business buildings. So we had the Up All Day Cafe. And then we came to the realization, why don't we just start a business in
Doing what we
something that
do.
we already know and we
Right.
already do. So Gabe and I started the company, and then quickly Mike Bone, our other partner here in Las Vegas, came on board, and it's just kind of history from there. So we just got so much of our experience from being in the advertising and marketing departments at the Venetian, and then I had a couple jobs in between there as well, and just having that broad casino marketing knowledge just really helped out in being able to talk to many clients on their level. And,
Right.
And just being in their shoes at that point as well. That's just one of the bigger things as well. It's like, hey, look, we've been in your shoes. And
Right.
that's kind of how we came up with the theory of, just creative being more of a collaborative effort and,
Right.
less of a thing for sale or to be pushed upon someone.
I think it's a nod to Vegas. It's a real, in my opinion, people will ask sometimes why I've stayed so long. I said it's a real entrepreneurial town because you can test out things. I mean, and to what Aaron was saying, you get all this knowledge working in these multi-billion-dollar companies that you can take whatever you learned and kind of go off on your own and create a business for yourself
Well, yeah.
if that's your mindset.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've worked in the casino industry and worked in advertising or marketing or just anywhere close to it, you're experiencing a mini city in a
Right.
sense. You have shows, you have restaurants, you have just
Nightlife.
spas, nightlife.
Yep.
You have everything right there that any tourist destination would have or any city would have for that matter.
Right.
And you're seeing it in such a high-powered, concentrated form too.
Right.
And yeah,
And they're well-oiled machines, these things. You just, you work in the Venetian, but just the Venetian Palazzo Sands Expo complex is massive. And,
Yeah.
And, two nightclubs, yeah, 2 pools, 20 or something restaurants under something like that.
If not more, yeah.
Yeah,
It's quite a
so
bit.
it's all that. But then, you take what you learned there, you come out, you can then, I kind of attribute, I was talking to my friend Alicia, who will be on the show later this week, tomorrow, I think. She, I believe, worked with stations for a while. If I'm mistaken, Alicia, and you're watching, I apologize. But she went back to Southern California
Okay.
with the knowledge that she had gained here, opened a wine bar out there, and I've seen all the success that she has. And I when I wrote her, I said, I think you being in Vegas for so long helped that because they're not prepared for that mentality there. So you come with all this knowledge and just hit this city and boom, you blow up and you're
Yeah.
like, wow, I have a lot of friends that have left Vegas, gone out to like San Diego for their nightlife scene and just are redefining it because you're in the trenches basically here,
Yeah.
and you learn so much so fast that you could take that to any locale,
Yeah.
and that knowledge of creativity and how to brand and how to reach out to different people via
Right.
social media, whatever. You can do whatever you want in other cities. And
What-
I brought that up because you were dealing with a lot of different businesses outside of
Yeah.
Vegas as well.
Yeah, exactly. And just being in Vegas, yes, you're exposed to all the different marketing techniques, advertising, and really, some even like cutting edge design when it comes to that sort of space. So being exposed to that really does make you valuable in other markets. And I've talked to many of my friends about this before, and it's really amazing and pretty awesome as well when you approach a casino outside of Vegas and they just really do listen. You're like, look, here's what we've been saying, and part of that collaborative effort and all.
Right.
But they really do see the value, the value in that when you do go outside of the market. Recently, we did a launch table games campaign for Twin River Casino. They had only had slot machines and all of that, so we came up with a branded campaign for their outdoor TV, radio, and all of that to introduce table games to Twin River Casino. And it was kind of an honor. We were selected just off of our creative partner, Gabe Trujillo, sent an email off to the marketing director there, being that he's in that area in Windham, New Hampshire.
Right.
And they called us in for an RFP, and out of 16 companies that focused on casino work, our creative was selected to execute the campaign. So,
Wow.
when you go through stories like that, it's just awesome. It's an awesome feeling, but it's just good to know that your Vegas roots really, really do show, and the value shows when you go outside of market as well.
And maybe even more so, maybe because Vegas is so flooded with it, when you go outside of it, it's a refreshing thing. You're like, oh, you really do value what I'm bringing to the table,
Oh, no,
or whatever.
it absolutely is. And one of my favorite things to do, I don't really gamble when I'm in Vegas. Sometimes I'll play poker, but when I'm outside of Vegas, I gamble. And I just,
Wow, okay.
I just want to experience it and want to experience the different casinos. And you get into conversations with the dealers, or even if you go down to get a bite to eat and they ask you where you're from, you say Las Vegas. And they're like, oh, well, what do you think of this place?
Right.
You're like, it's awesome. It's refreshing. You're seeing new things. And you will see things outside of market that they do way better than Vegas does. And there's, we can bring those ideas back here as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Good way to look at it as well. Yeah.
It really, it's a two-way street when it comes to that sort of stuff.
So, for anybody that's kind of in that mindset of creative branding, things like that, and that's the field they want to get into, what are some tips or ideas that you can give without, you're not giving away the farm, but just a little, here's maybe a little nudge of a direction that you might go to do your own thing.
To do your, honestly, you have to get rid of the mindset that you're going to have a steady paycheck all the time.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
like any work that you're doing now, any work that you're doing right now, you just have to realize that you're probably going to get paid in like 45, maybe 60, maybe 90 days.
90
Just
days
realize
sometimes.
that. Just
Yeah.
realize that.
That happens.
That's that's the number one thing. Realize that'll happen.
They call it a 90 net. When you don't hear that, you're like, what does that mean? And you're like, oh, I don't get paid for 3 months.
I think
Even
everybody's
though,
Everyone's different. And,
Yeah.
that's why I enjoy working with casinos, though, because they have a hard time convincing you that they don't have any money. You're like, no, look.
They do try to, though.
I went down to your craps table and I saw all the money you owe me right there. It's really that simple.
just give me a chip.
Apparently, it's not the same money, though.
right.
But whatever.
It's different. It's funny money.
Yeah, but, that's one thing to be prepared for, but all that builds character and all that. And
Sure.
if you're doing a good job, money will be rolling in. It's fine. In a creative sense, just understand that it is creative. It's art. It's entirely subjective it's just entirely subjective.
Right.
What, you might like, you
This is
might
very
not
true.
like, and I might love.
He loves cotton candy. I'm not so fond of it.
That's true.
That's exactly it.
Cotton candy.
And even on top of that, whether it's your opinion or not,
Sure.
you have to also understand that, pricing is also entirely subjective too.
True.
So,
True.
what company A is willing to do for $5, well, company B might not even want to charge you $10. They might want to charge you $15.
Right.
And there could be reasons and all of that, but you have to understand that as a creative person as well.
Right.
So with those two things, with pricing and art being both subjective matters, it's really a matter of finding your groove.
Right.
And that's really what it is. And just trying to show your value, and just like any relationship or any client vendor relationship, everyone has to be happy. Everyone has to be okay with the price, the
Right.
service, the outcome, and all of that. But because you have those two big variables, it makes it interesting
Well,
industry.
and a lot of times it changes how you approach your business model as an individual. Do you want to go after that market that's just going after price, or do you set yourself up, say, okay, this is the price I'm going to charge regardless, or is it adjustable because of varying needs or whatever? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and that's entirely it. You know, there's agencies in town that won't design and produce a direct mail piece because they think it's beneath them. That's
right,
definitely not us. We're not beneath anything. So
right, well,
we're okay with doing any kind of work out there. You know,
right.
as long as, there's prices agreed on and expectations are on the same page, we're good with it. You know, but there's, other agencies that just do production work and other ones that just do big level branding. So I think it just, you just kind of get in where you fit in, for a better
Well,
better term.
I like your approach is because it will, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might take on smaller projects, but because you do, you can be potentially with them for the long haul. You start off and helping, maybe they don't have a brand of any sort. It could be a casino and they're just like, hey, we have a license and we just make money, but we want to reach out and get more people in the door. We need to brand ourselves and remarket ourselves.
Right.
We want to work with you, not knowing there's no guarantee that you're always going to be there, but if you do them, typically, if you do them right, they tend to do you right.
No, absolutely. And, just going back to the character and keeping your word thing as well, if in this industry, especially within, the creative industry, if you can just keep on top of that and do that and deliver as promised, you're going to float to the top pretty quickly if you do that.
And that's, especially in this town, that's 90% of it, being a photographer, just showing up.
Yeah.
Just doing what someone asked of you. It goes a long way because there's so many people that don't.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Day in and day out, we hear horror stories of people that aren't happy with their current service providers. And some of the stories you hear are pretty unbelievable, but it's always, there's always two sides of the story. But
Right.
we do like to give people the benefit of the doubt and work with different size clients. We work with clients as large as, MGM Resorts, Luxor, and Excalibur. And, we work with a lot of charities where we do a ton of pro bono work too. And, that's another thing as well, with charities and all that, we want to help out as much as possible. We want to give back to the community. We want to do stuff like that. So, as long as we have the time to do it and we can pay as much attention as we want to pay attention to that effort, we love helping the community out any way we can.
And speaking kind of like on that level, and it wasn't necessarily a charitable thing, at least I don't think it was. Your company was running basically an art show. Inside of what used to be called Caramel in the Bellagio. I think it's Lily now. For a long time, and had a lot of different artists go through there. I think you might even ask me to do it, but then I passed on somebody to you to help with.
Yeah.
And one of those was Leah Burlington, and
That was her that you passed on to us.
here's the thing about doing something like that, and what maybe you don't. When you're actually in the moment, you're creating this event, and then you have someone like, let's say, Leah come in and work with you on it. You don't necessarily know at the time what that does, but for her, and what I've got from her, is it was kind of like this turning point for her as a photographer.
Oh, nice.
Because a lot of times, being creative and being in an art kind of field is that you don't necessarily know if what you're doing is actually being accepted by other people.
Yeah. Well, the art shows were a great thing for 3.5 years. I think it was the last Thursday of every month.
Right.
We basically reached out to a local artist for them to come in and, show their art, whether it be photography, oil on canvas, whatever it may be. And yeah, it was a great opportunity for our artists. And we thought it was really cool because, within creative and graphic design, most graphic designers are a fine artist to start with and all
Right.
that. So this just gave a really cool opportunity for people to come in and show their work. So, and a lot of the times it was someone's first art show. So to be able to have your first art
true.
show in Caramel at the Bellagio
Yep.
was just such a big deal for
And,
them.
and you went out. It wasn't just thrown up. It was. They were nice. I mean, I think the client or the artist did the framing and all that stuff, but you gave areas for them to hang it.
Yep.
And so the difference being is that let's just take Leah for example. So she goes and maybe presents her photography to some gallery in town. They're like, "Oh, you're not established. We're not going to hang you here. whatever the case may be, you allowed it to, you created this concept. It helped out Caramel, it helped out Bellagio, it helped out the artist to show their pieces, and without having to go through those, steps and fast track them into showing. People really did care about what they did, because I remember her telling me, "Oh my God, so many people are liking my photographs." And for years I'd been telling, listen, this is something that you're good at. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And people get trapped in their own mind of like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. And now she's doing rock shows and
That's
traveling
great. That's
and,
awesome to hear.
and doing all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if she will per se, but I can point out that being a big turning point for her. So
and we just hope that that was the case for so many of the artists that we did it for. And we've been talking about wanting to bring the art shows back as well. It's just
think
a
you
matter of
should.
funding. Yeah.
Was it a big outlay of cash for you to do something
No,
like that?
no,
Okay.
not at all. It was more effort. You
Okay.
know, it's a month, as you know, like throwing events on a monthly
Sure.
basis involve a little bit. We did all the flyer design for it and sent out the email blast for it. So we were actively doing the marketing for it in tandem with the artist
group.
as well.
And
But
then,
we. But yeah, as far as our relationship business-wise with the art shows and everything, it just gave us a good opportunity to have a good relationship with Light Group, and we worked out some trade deals to where we can take clients out to dinner and all that, which was really helpful at the beginning of our
Sure.
the beginning of our business.
Especially if you're like, oh, meet us at the Bellagio
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, totally. So it helped. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that we've been considering bringing back, and I think might be a good thing
Well,
to
I
do.
think
This could be my moment of revelation right here.
I hope so, because you were doing that before there was really like a First Friday presence. I mean, it's kind of blown up more.
Yeah.
But
Well, and at the time, First Friday was a little more, I guess, for lack of a better word, it was a little more grungy, a little more downtown,
Sure.
than what it is now. It's far different than what it is now. I think it's amazing what it's grown to and all that.
There
but
were no
it's different.
food trucks. I don't recall.
No, there was no food trucks. Everything was kind of sparse, and
Sure.
it was just kind of thrown together. It's incredible what they've been able to do now. But this, yeah, you're right. We were able to provide culture in more of a crossover sort of environment. It's not necessarily a club. It's not necessarily what downtown was. It was just somewhere in the middle, and it was
Right.
something that was convenient for people as well. So,
And it gave it allowed the casino and that whatever venue it was, like it was Caramel, to get more of a local crowd in there when and fill a room on a Thursday night when it may have not been anyway.
yeah,
So
the marketing director at the time mentioned that it was, one of the most successful ongoing promotions and all of that. Don't know how big of a moneymaker it was, but it's definitely a good look,
but many of those yeah, exactly, many of those people, I don't even think that prior to that Leah had ever gone into Caramel.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. No, it definitely did that too. It exposed the venue to, a whole new group of people that hadn't been there before.
So now I planted that bug in your ear, and
I know. I'd actually been thinking about it a little bit. It's funny that you brought it up. So
cool.
yeah.
I think it would go over as splendidly as it did before, if not even more. So
All right.
I think it would be a good thing, and you have now a bigger base of people thinking, in those realms, like I mentioned First Friday, going out and having their little stand there or what have you.
Yeah.
To come.
There's probably more artists.
You have more to pull from. That
Yeah.
might have been your biggest thing before, is actually getting artists.
Yeah,
to
it was
come
like, as you
in.
know, it's just sort of word of mouth. Like,
Sure.
do you know anyone that has some friends and
Yeah.
can come in and show their
Support
art?
and show their art, and you're like, really, and it takes me back to when I had an old radio show, and all I was doing was promoting local bands. It was like pulling teeth to get anybody to submit their music. You're like, this is an opportunity for you to promote yourself. So anyway, what are some things that you're currently doing that I mean, of course you're really proud of everything that you're doing, but what are some of those notable things that are standing out where you've come in and really given a shot in the arm to this business, and now they're really taking off and flourishing because of it?
Well, one of the most consistent things that we do is the email marketing and design of email blasts, coding, and all for Luxor and Excalibur. So on an ongoing basis, Luxor and Excalibur is kind of head up creating responsive emails within MGM Resorts, and we help kind of lead that way and learn about how to design things responsibly. And if you don't know, responsive design is basically the the idea of programming creative in a way to where it'll look good, the content will look good, and the images will look good on a variety of devices. So what you see on your iPhone will be different than what you see on your tablet, which would be different than what you see on your desktop, just depending on the screen resolution, width, and all of that. So it's been really fun and a real educational experience, getting up to speed with that. And we've been able to take that knowledge and apply it to other clients that we do email marketing for as well.
Which is helpful because, I mean, kudos to you for getting people to actually open up emails anymore, Right. I mean, but I think it has to do with what you're talking about, it being a responsive thing, because nothing it would suck more than opening up an email and on your phone,
Yeah.
and you can't see the picture just because it's too big or
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. And a lot of the times if an email blast has too much content and like the iPhone, for example, will shrink down all the creative really small to where you have to, scroll up and then you might accidentally hit a hyperlink, or on an Android device, a lot of the times it'll be the right size, but it'll be scrolled up all the way to the left and you have to do the same thing to get through it.
Right.
So once the email is open, it's a far, far, far better experience. And we've noticed a lot better conversion rates because of it as well. Another project that we just recently launched is CivilPix.com, which is CivilPix.com.
Okay.
It was actually my father's brainchild, and what it is a stock photography site.
Oh, cool.
That is based on location and time stamping. So it's date specific and location based images to
Okay.
where attorneys, expert witnesses, or anyone that might be working on a case that would need a historical photo
Okay.
can draw off of that and download the bundle to use as
Wow.
a part of their case.
That's cool.
And it's kind of cool for everyone because even as a photographer, even as not even a photographer, just anyone who has a bundle of pictures. Let's say you're walking along the sidewalk and you notice a crack that's about, a differential in the concrete that's about that much or so.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I bet someone will trip and fall on that eventually. It's kind of not a great way to think. But,
But you're getting an example.
Snap
so.
a picture. Yeah. Snap a picture of it. Upload it, and what you do, you set your own price and what you
cool.
think the value of that photo is, and then it's a 50-50 split amongst the person who uploads the photo and the website itself.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're, as a photographer, going out and taking these images that have to be these wonderful things. It's a simple thing where, and like you said, it's time stamped, it's the location stamped. So like you're mentioning, an attorney can go in, someone tripped on that, they need a picture of it, they can reference the site and go see that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty incredible site as far as how it's built and all of that. It uses Google Maps to help you drop pins of where those photos are located and all of that. But it's a pretty robust system that I think has quite a bit of legs for other applications as well. And my dad's thinking in those terms as well.
Well, I was even thinking when you were telling me about it, I was like, well, this would be perfect for some place like Vegas, because maybe it's just because I live here, but when you live here and you watch television shows and it's shot in Vegas, you're like, okay, so how did they get from the Flamingo to downtown in that quick of time?
Right.
You see this type of stuff, or
Yeah.
you just see images that people are using now on their. It's like they just posted the post or the page today on their website, and the images from. It could only be just 2008. It's only a few years ago, but the town's changed so much that you're like, oh well, it's outdated now. So I was thinking for that, if people need to find stock photography for right now in Vegas of the mirage and what the volcano looks like now as compared to before, or whatever,
Sure.
it could be.
Yeah.
Or maybe they want one before and then after.
Yeah.
It could be for that too.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the way the site could end up as well. If there's enough bundles uploaded, you could have photos in the same exact spot, a couple of years down the road that would show that before and after. But photos like that are invaluable to attorneys and expert witnesses. If it can make or break a case,
Sure.
they're willing to pay top dollar for that. And what's neat about this site too is it is a 50-50 split.
Sure.
I mean, traditionally within a stock photography site, it's usually 15% going to the photographer, 85% going to the site. And just recently, another site announced that they're going to bump it up to 30%.
Sure.
And my dad was like, oh, how generous. He's a real open market sort of guy
Sure.
and thinker. He's like, you set the price, I'll split it with you and just go from there. So that just launched, looking for a lot of contributors. So if you have a chance, check it out.
Civil, CIVIL, Pix, PIX.
Yep.
.com.
You got it.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but like we're mentioning, not to pigeonhole it, but it can be. My mind's going crazy now because it's that just the iPhone photographer to the high end photographer,
Yeah.
and everybody has pictures on this site to not only help attorneys, but then further, like I
Yeah.
was mentioning, just there's a bunch of people that are posting up pictures of what Vegas used to look like.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like, oh, that's kind of neat. Oh, I could see where the Wynn is now, and it used to be a gas station or something like that. And just something like that is really helpful to somebody that's building a story about that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because down the road it could become more of a traditional stock photography site where, look, I need for an advertising piece, I'm going to need this or
Right.
that. It could end up being that. And we've actually talked a little bit about the idea of maybe launching a stock photography site focused specifically on Las Vegas imagery. For anyone that's worked within advertising and marketing within Las Vegas, or maybe just knows, Vegas 7 or the Weekly very well, things like the same stack of cash end up in so many advertisements. You have that royalty-free image. During Super Bowl time, there's a particular image of a girl that's used all the time. She has a white tank top, usually whoever's logo
Yeah.
on there. A little bit of an angry boob job, gonna say, but this girl is on, 4 to 5 pages of, the Weekly as you flip through it, because there's a lack of resources for
There's this
Las
one,
Vegas
yeah,
and,
of a nightlife
gambling.
one that's it's a dark image. You've probably seen it, and some girls flipping her hair and like purples and reds and stuff. And that particular image, I see it all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, really? You built your flyer off of that stock image?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that tons of times. You would think that they would have seen it too, but they
Yeah.
still use it.
No, absolutely. And, when you do start reusing a lot of assets like that, you start to get weird associations like company A might be using it that's not so conservative, and company B could be using it who's ultra conservative, and it looks like a spokesmodel. And they're like, freak out.
Yeah,
Heard that happening.
That's true.
So that is one of our ideas down the pipeline is maybe giving, creative people in Las Vegas or that do Las Vegas themed creative better source of photographs to pull off of.
Aside from just people that live here, because of 40 million visitors come here a year, you have even that many more opportunities to reach those people because it's CivilPix, so it could be for any city too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No. And that's the thing. We're focusing on trying to collect photographs within Las Vegas and the Southern California markets right now. But if you go to the site, you'll notice that there's bundles from all over the U.S. So hopefully that map will be nice and populated with
That is
photos
pretty
here
cool.
pretty soon.
So that is the newest thing that that's cool that you're working with your dad on it
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
CivilPix.com, CivilPix.com. Any other cool things that are coming up in the future?
We are working on a concept for a client out there for an itinerary builder. I'm not
Okay.
going to mention the client, but
Okay.
an itinerary builder to where it's going to be something that is entirely responsive as well. So it's a web app that can be easily used on a mobile device or your desktop. And it's a way for someone to build their itinerary that focuses on the events that particular property decides they want to show. So you would have your first day, you have 4 time slots, and you'd basically cycle through what you want to do for each of those time slots. Then you can add a day to it and do the same thing. And so, and when everything's said and done, you can have 3 days, you have 16 action items within your itinerary, and you're going to have the ability to share that itinerary on Facebook, Twitter, or email it to people as well. And what will be cool about it is that it'll use Facebook Connect, but it'll have another way to sign up as well. But it'll be a full interactive website for that particular person. So you, Jeremy, you go in there, you select your 16 events, you say you want to share it to Facebook. People can go to this website where you have each one of the itinerary items, and it has a call to action, whether to buy tickets, to learn more, to make reservations, and all of that. So for the client, it could, conversion could happen there. People can, make the reservation, can, book the spa treatment, could do whatever through there. But it's a really, really neat interactive way for someone to immerse themselves in the brand itself and learn about everything that's going on in that property.
Right.
So, you go in there and you cycle through 50 events. by the time you're doing that and you fill 16 slots or even 4 slots, you're going to have a good idea of what restaurants and everything's around there. Now, whether you follow that itinerary verbatim when you're in Vegas, okay, whatever. But
Sure.
at least you know all that stuff's there and it's on your mind.
And you've kind of set something for yourself. And should you want to choose to share it with everybody, then they can know what you're going to do as well, and then maybe meet you there or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that is cool.
And we're building a API that has a nice foundation to where we can add features to it as well. So if down the road you wanted to say something like, okay, add your picture to this itinerary item, you'd have the ability to do that. And you're creating a user base and email addresses as well that you can, target market to, and really just the information that you're getting.
So it helps the business because it gives them kind of an idea of what people are going to be doing on their property or whatever the case may be. But it also helps that end user because they now have an itinerary for themselves that they can share. I mean, that's something that is kind of frustrating about, I guess, a Facebook event type thing is that you can see what's going on, and you can see who's said they're going to go. But, the flaw with that is I just had a friend last night tell me that someone got mad at her because, people have a tendency to say, I'm going to go to this thing, but then they don't go. And they're being supportive. I understand them, but I'm like, just choose maybe, because you're not saying no and you're not saying yes. Say maybe.
I hate maybe.
He hates maybe because they're like, I don't know if you're going to be there or not. And I get that.
It's the worst. I'd rather hear a no than a maybe.
I put maybes.
Okay. Well,
do
then,
you?
Yeah, because I'm
a maybe
Is there
guy.
two? Is there two out of...
I'm a maybe guy. But the thing is I don't know if I can.
Have you ever seen maybe on a wedding invitation? Never seen maybe.
I would say no to that.
Okay,
Never.
so it depends on what the event is.
Exactly right.
If it's really, really cool, I'll put yes for sure. Okay, so say no. Don't say maybe.
I can't talk to you guys anymore.
Yeah, he's out of here because we say maybe, not no. But someone got mad at her because she was just being nice and saying yes to everybody, but then didn't go to anything, know. And you just it's this weird, antiquated way of doing that. And then people see that you're going to an event and it's in the stream, and if you didn't see it, then you don't ever see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Facebook invented maybe when it comes to RSVPs. It might have been the first.
It's their way of being neutral, like why they don't have a thumbs down. They only have a thumbs up.
That's true. That's true.
They don't want to make anybody upset.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to
No
do that.
disappointments there.
Yeah,
Like
no.
every time they change the setup of Facebook. Oh my God, they changed Facebook again.
I like the new. I like the new look myself. People getting mad about it.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. The only thing that I will say frustrating about Facebook is the most recent always is the most recent.
Right.
And I think they kind of fixed it here recently, but there's a while there where I'm like, look, I want to see it in chronological order. If this post happened a second after this one, that's
The one that is most recent, and it was 5 hours ago. I'm like, no, I know someone posted something a second ago. What are you talking about? 5 hours ago. But yeah, stuff like that. I think people have a natural tendency not to like about Facebook. Is they're like, I'm following my friends, so I want to know all that they do. And I'm like, well, why don't you just interact with your friend? Then it'll pop up on your feed.
yeah, that's true.
Social media for a reason.
I know. Yeah.
You got to do that. And so what then, obviously you have a business, but you know the importance of a social media platform, of getting the word out. I mean, the days of thinking that a Facebook or a Twitter or whatever are just for kids is not existent, especially when you see businesses in their ad campaigns saying, at whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've, really early on, I was kind of an early adopter to Twitter because of my business partner, Gabe Trujillo. He's like, oh, you need to try this new thing. It's Twitter, da-da-da. And like most people, when you try to explain it to them, they're like, oh, that sounds so stupid. And I was kind of the same, mindset until I went around and played with it. And I just became really, really obsessed with it. And I think that's about the same time that Las Vegas was really grasping onto it. And you couldn't go a week without at least 4 to 5 tweet ups happening and all that.
Right.
Now I think they've laid off the emphasis of how important it is to invite the same people to eat a free meal. But,
sure.
they still do that. And social media is still really important. I just don't think there's still the major emphasis on it as when we dove into it. But what's so awesome about that, I can count on probably 2 or 3 hands the amount of people that I'm friends with, probably just strictly because of Twitter or through the introduction there.
Sure.
I mean, I love Facebook and everything, but I feel like Twitter kind of has a little bit of a learning curve. So, You tend to
I
come
like
up.
Facebook.
See, we're just not agreeing here. I'm
See,
gonna
I
get
just
kicked out of here.
I
How much
just
more
have
time
a
is there
problem.
left?
You know what? I think someone.
It's only 7 more minutes. So
He's
you
like,
gotta
okay,
put up
all
with
right.
us.
He hits maybe. He likes Facebook. I'm done. That's
I'm
it.
out of here. I really liked you guys
Done.
before I got here, but now I don't. Not so
Now that we've
much.
talked for an hour.
The only here's the only thing that one of my biggest qualms with Twitter is that, and I'm seeing it recently. I saw a guest I had on my show because somebody out there didn't like the fact that I had them on my show, just beating them up in Twitter, and it doesn't
really?
seem to exist in Facebook as much. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's there, but it almost seems like Twitter it seems to be, if you want to bully somebody, whether you're a young person or older, that's the place to go to.
Yeah,
you start
people-
replying everybody in
people
one
are-
tweet.
Yeah, people are a little cattier on Twitter too now. It's-
Seems right.
I would say so.
All right.
I think I don't know. You can be more anonymous on Twitter if you want to be than Facebook.
I get that's
I
yeah.
guess.
I'm really anonymous on there because I barely get on.
That's being really anonymous.
I just can't figure it out that much. I mean, to me, it's really foreign. It just doesn't make much sense. Some of it.
There's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get into it,
I,
and you get what you put into it too. You can, like, for example, I'm locked out of my main Twitter account now because
how'd you do that?
I don't know. Some Russians hacked my account, started
Oh,
wow.
tweeting out Russian. I don't know if it's actually
See.
Russians that did it, but apparently they thought that I had enough of a Russian tie to where sending out a whole bunch of spam
Was
in
gonna-
Russian would be effective to my followers. But I can't unlock my main Twitter account, so I just use my dog's Twitter account right now.
There you go.
Hey, if it works.
I was like, why is this dog trying to follow me? I had mine hacked
Oh, it
too.
looks like
See, you guys are not convincing me to start using Twitter
No,
more. Here.
I know.
But the
Oh,
weird,
you get locked out.
the
The
weird,
Russians invade you.
I didn't have that
horrible.
happen. Fortunately,
I get someone from Bangkok that taking my account. I got to follow somebody in a hamster thing or whatever.
you said
Stay away from
Bangkok.
Stay away from Twitter.
But what happened to me was I had somebody hack me, and then they started following a ton of people.
Oh, really?
I'm like, what is this about? Because the only way I knew it was happening because people were like tweeting me back and going, "Thanks for the follow." I'm like, I haven't even done anything on Twitter. What are you talking? And then I saw, I'm like, holy shit! I just was amazed by what. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess someone hacked my account. I had to lock it down and change passwords and all that stuff.
I tried doing all of that, and then it was still going on, and it asked me if I wanted verification code sent to my phone. I said yes, and apparently that wasn't the right answer because now they're not getting to my phone.
They hacked your phone too.
And,
They
you
stole
know,
your phone number.
It's a mess.
Hide your
So
kids,
Twitter,
hide
if
your
you're out
wife.
there, please
Yes.
unlock Righellis.
Hook a brother up.
Please,
He needs
please.
help.
know.
He's here in the flesh. And what is your Twitter? Oh, maybe you don't want to even
It's
say
fine.
it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not.
The
I'm not
Russians
happy
are
with
gonna
Twitter.
read it.
I'm not happy with Twitter right now.
He was all for it until we brought up this
No,
little
I like
fact.
it better than Facebook.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Even though
go.
he's locked out, he still likes it better.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate the fact I'm locked out, but even that happening is better than Facebook.
Yeah, Twitter's really secure. That's what I've learned.
That is crazy. But you do find outside of that, it's a great medium for other people.
No,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
I do. No, I think it's really important to have a social media presence. You know, it's like a lot of the times for smaller businesses, I'm of the mindset that you can have your company logo and then links to all of your social media, and then you can tell your story through social media, and that's enough. Like, you know, like. And I'm sorry, saying a phase one or really beginning out in business for certain businesses, that can be a solution because Facebook has given you the ability to build your own website.
It can be helpful, or it can kick you in the ass, as I've mentioned on the show before. You know, a good thing about having a PR company handle all that for you instead of being a business owner is then you don't end up like Amy's Baking Company and start responding to everybody and, having them kick your ass on the internet and no one wanting to go to your restaurant anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That happens.
Very true.
You know, so it's helpful, and I guess it can kick you in the ass too.
Yeah. It's like anything, right?
That's true. So, what can we expect from Up All Day coming up? And by the way, if you guys want to go check out the website, it's upallday.com. You can see all of what the company is about and read more of where they came from and what different. I think maybe even have some client.
Yeah, we have some featured artwork up there.
featured artwork
you can
up
see
there.
some of our clients and all that. And if you ever want to learn more about us, you can just reach out to us. Either email me. give me
Not
a
Twitter
call.
though.
Not on Twitter right now. But you can at replyupallday.com. They're
Oh,
cool.
they're-
I'm just not.
You're not.
Yeah, I'm just
You're not cool at
just
all.
not in good standings with Twitter.
I also put a profile up for Aaron on my site, the JeremyWomackShow.com, and Righellis' page is there. Also, the archive later, there will be a page for that as well.
And I shared it on Facebook.
And George,
My second favorite
George.
social media.
second, only second to the one that's locked him out.
Yeah, my first favorite when it comes to things I have access to.
You know what I really like about it though is how it's presented, especially with this new layout for Facebook. It's like everything's clean and there's this nice big picture and the title. So if you're good at all at building websites and blogging at all, it's perfect. If you suck at it, then it definitely shows when you decide you want to share it on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
You got to know what you're doing. So either you hire somebody like Up All Day to help with your creatives and your branding, or you try to attempt it yourself. And I've had kind of the luxury of going through the whole, MySpace realm to Facebook and doing all that to kind of figure it out. And it's why anyone knows who the hell I even am is because of social media. So kudos to that. Definitely check out the archive later. If you missed any of this show, again, it'll be the JeremyWomackShow.com. That's where the archive will be. If you need to see it within the next couple hours, you can go to the All Talk Radio YouTube page, or then you can go to Jeremy Womack, DOTCOM YouTube page to check it out there. Thanks for coming in, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
This was fun. And we'll talk more about the idea, I think, the business idea. Thanks, guys, for hanging out,
good.
and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.